Hi Mad Gang, welcome to our first long form video on YouTube. The purpose of this video, and we're hoping the accompanying series, is to give you a long form video content around some skills. I guess some of our frustration, well my frustration personally, with trying to get content out is to try and be perfect. Similar to lots of our players, we want to be perfect straight away and we get really frustrated and then we maybe shy away and we don't keep exploring and practicing. So the intent and purpose of these long form videos and my thinking is that it's going to be a bit of vlog style, it's going to be a bit raw, there's not going to be a huge amount of editing. Unless you want lots of editing, then you're going to need to like and share this so we get thousands and thousands of views and we can have someone to come and do our editing for us. Because I spend far too much time on pitch to spend editing. So the purpose of these videos is to A, as I said, get some content out there, and B, I guess some frustration on my part with a lot of the content that's online. There's lots of sort of 2-minute videos, even that 30-second clips, trying to say and give you everything around a skill, like you need to do this, you need to hold a stick like this. And as we know, hockey, like most sports and skills, is really complex and there's a lot of what ifs. Yeah, I might hold a stick this way for a certain scenario, but if the ball's here, then I'm gonna need to do something a bit different. There's no one size fits all. So this video and this first in the series is gonna be around drag flicking. I'm probably going to jump across coaching points and themes, so please bear with me. I will timestamp as we move along, so if this video goes to 15 or 20 minutes, you don't have to sit through the whole thing, just jump across some timestamps in the video. This video is about drag flicking, a highly popular skill. Lots of people want to work on it. It's so important from a penalty corner aspect. We don't see a huge amount of it in the women's or girls' games in comparison to the men's game or the boys' game. So something hopefully that you as players watching this or coaches might take something from it, and you can then go and help coach others or coach yourself with it. Also, please, if I say something and you're like, no, in my experience, this and that, please share them down in the comments. If you want to have a healthy debate or give some advice, that would be wicked, because us as coaches, we steal ideas and we get ideas from somewhere. So please share them on in the comments below, get a healthy bit of debate going, and some agreement or disagreement there. So we'll crack on. As I say, no edits. Please bear with us with the wind. We are up at the top of the mountain here at Kincoid in Cardiff, so I can only apologise if there's a lot of wind rattling through your noise here. I'll do my best in post-production. Drag flicking then. The rest of the video is going to have sort of 4 parts. We're going to talk about drag flicking, the concept itself. We're going to discuss the sort of phases to drag flicking. We have, well, I'll come back to that in a moment. We'll discuss the phases. Then we've got 3/4 drills and practices that you can work on in your own time, or you can work on with a player or a group of players in relation to the drag flick. That isn't just getting injector, trapping and flicking, because as we know, with drag flicking, we need to make sure that we get reps and reps and reps, because it is a highly complex skill, and we need to spend some more time on it than the 10 minutes at the end of most pitch training sessions. So I'm going to set you down. Hopefully we get the angle right here, and you won't get blown away in the wind as we go. So drag flicking, as we said, there's 3 parts to it. Firstly, we talk about drag flicking for those who are new to the game or don't know a huge amount about it. Penalty corner is one. When it's out to the top of the circle, the traditional way would be the ball's got to be rolled in and we've got to hit it. Disadvantage is that we've got to keep it below the backboard. So drag flicking's in the game because we can aim anywhere on the goal. We also have opportunity to disguise and maybe play some slip moves from a drag flick, which is a little bit harder than maybe a hit or a slap from the top. Idea of the drag flick then is the ball starts outside the circle, we move the ball inside the circle. There is a phase where the ball goes up and down the stick, which we'll talk about more later, and then through on to goal. The 3 phases we'll discuss. We have the approach, so a run up, maybe a bit like cricket. You have your running up to get into the crease. Those who've been coached by me loads, you know I'll bring in loads of random analogies as we go, especially loads of golf as I'm attempting to try and improve my golf game. So a bit like cricket, we'll approach the ball, approach the crease. So we have that, and then we have the crossover steps, and like the build into the release phase. Lots of different ways. We'll talk about the footwork later on in the video. So we have the crossover, and then we have this release phase, which is the final part, the shot towards the goal. Something I'll just mention before going into the 3 separate drills. What I really like to do, and I'll pick you up here and we'll move a little bit so we can look down on the goal. What I really like to do with flickers, and the ones I work with, is flick in reps of 4 or 5. Because drag flicking is quite a physical act. If we just flick 10, 15 in a row, we get knackered, and then that leads to frustration on the part of the player. So then the speed is less, and even if you've made adjustments to grip or footwork, the player might not, or you might not feel like you've got any better, and the correction hasn't worked because you're tired and your body hasn't been able to put the same amount of effort through. So you might be able to see now down the goal, and importantly, just jumping, as I said here, I'll be jumping across things, 4 reps, and aiming and having some purpose on where you are flicking these is really important. So you look down the goal here, I've put some tyres into the goal. So what we normally do, any flicking session, is to get 20 flicks away, building into speed, aiming for a tyre. So we would go, let's say, first 4 or 5, aiming for this right-hand tyre. We'll zoom in just in case you don't know what a right-hand tyre is. So we would have that there, and then we'd build up the speed incrementally. So maybe the first 4 are going to be at 50%, just to build our way in, rather than just go first flick 100 mile an hour. And then we'll aim left tyre, then we'll go up to 75%, and then we'll get up to a stage where we feel like we're at 80, 90, 100% before we start thinking corrections or any other drills, just to get, I like to call it, get the cobwebs off, especially if we haven't flicked for a week. Something I use lots in my sessions, especially with doing forehand and backhand hitting as well. Just give opportunity for players to get the cobwebs off. Almost the analogy I give is that players are like an abandoned house. The foundations might be really solid, but there's just some cobwebs in each room, so we just need to go and brush them off. Similar to our skills, that we can do forehands and backhands, but we just need to brush off some of the cobwebs. So that is, I guess, the first part of any drag flick session that I would run. We'd go and get some reps in on tyres. First drill then we might discuss is a real focus on the release phase. Probably the one that I feel might have the most, what's what I'm looking for, most disagreement perhaps. Idea with this release, especially with the drag flick, is that the ball has to travel up and down the stick. Different variants on how much they go up and down the stick. You see some flickers who are very wrist dominant will keep the ball on the end of the stick quite a lot, and then we'll almost really muscle it with wrists. But then some other flickers might take the ball a little bit further down the stick, especially for those who maybe have a really good slide slap, the idea being that it's similar to them, they get the ball up here and slide it down the stick. So the ball up and down the stick is important on this release phase. Quite a traditional and simple drill to work on this release phase is to get a handful of balls close enough to you so you don't have to keep getting up off legs and feet. So the idea is that you're on one knee. This is quite difficult with hips. Also talk about just being off 2 knees here. And the idea is that we're starting with the ball on the stick and we're just trying to get the ball up and back down the stick there. Oh, and if you do it well and you don't hit the tyre, then it'll bounce back to you excellently. So we are on the stick, up the stick, back down the stick there. Idea being that you can just collect another ball now rather than having to get up and get another ball. It's just a good way to warm up wrists and get this whippy, and they call it a slingshot kind of action going. So ball on the stick, up and back down. Something I've been thinking about recently coaching drag flicking is the idea that we think about moving the stick around the ball rather than ball up and down the stick, if that makes sense. Idea being that if we try and go with the ball up and down the stick, we end up maybe getting a bit cramped for room, and then it gets all a bit awkward, and then that's the reason why the ball stays on the end of the stick. We also then might step away from it and we lose a lot of our power. Whereas if we think about this ball just taking a normal straight line, I maybe just want to think about moving the stick down the ball. See how my hands have pushed away? Thinking about moving hands down the ball, and then we can whip this ball back down here. Okay, because if we think about the other way where we're trying to get the ball up and down the stick, it's just a little bit awkward. We're trying to move it up here and then the hands get a bit caught, as I've said. Some extra things to think about would be grip, and this is something we can think of and work on in this drill here with the release phase. Rather than getting bogged down with all the footwork and messing up, taking the footwork out of it really helps us think about grip and this release phase. So grip, the most common way when we think about drag flicking is to go frying pan grip with the top hand here, so flat side of the stick up to the sky, our V here, the frying pan that we would maybe coach a reverse bunt with, and then bottom hand goes into a normal push pass kind of grip, maybe mid grip for me. If you end up going split grip, this is just a little bit awkward. You can't really get this slingshot going as nicely. Whereas in more of a mid grip position, frying pan, mid grip here, there's a bit of consensus around whether you want to go finger down the back or a fist. A bit of me thinks going fist is a little bit better, because if you're going finger, then all the tension is going down this finger and strength, whereas if you've got the whole hand behind it, we can add a bit more power to the ball. So I quite like the idea of more of a fist in here, and if we go over the top, not going to work as well, so we almost want to be a little bit behind it, so we can get this hand in behind. So when we are back here, I can take my knuckles in here. This is the advantage of the frying pan grip. If I go with a normal hitting grip, as we see, I take this back, my wrist is really awkward, so not helpful at all. So frying pan grip, camera stay. I'm in here, start rolling the ball forwards. I want to push my hands away. And then when we get almost to this idea that it's in line with me, or this front leg, then I can whip and get this ball through. So we'll just film a few. And it comes back. Look after it, push hands, and then get this whip through. Right, that's it for drill number one. What we can do from here also, as we say, I say it's not it for drill number one, we're coming back, and we can go front leg here, yeah, up and back down, just so we can start getting this idea of like rocking into a front leg. Another way to do it, if we're thinking about getting more power, is to actually end up maybe falling forwards. Maybe don't do too many reps of these, or get a little pad if you've got one, so we can really get this idea of momentum through the ball. So that's drill number one. The wind's dying down now, so hopefully we won't have any more falling over for you guys in this second part. Our second drill, and hopefully we get a good little camera angle for this. Second drill is the David Asprey drill. I will give him his props, stole this from Dave. Good flicker himself, powerful flicker. And this is to really work on the crossover phase. When we talk about crossover, this is the footwork as you land and approach the ball. We spoke about the approach once we get to the crease, or we get to the ball on top of the circle. The reason why we're doing it from this yellow football spot here is that we're not going to use the approach, we're just going to go with the crossover footwork. So for me, psychologically, for players then, it's not going to come off as quickly as it would do with an approach. So I like to start a bit closer, because you still get that same feeling of I'm still flicking the ball fast, it's sounding fast off the backboard than it would if we would do this further back. So I like to build these up. That's why the first practice or the first drill was on the penalty spot rather than on the top of the circle. So you're not feeling like you're overdoing things because you want the same noise as you would do with your approach and crossover step. So this drill, really simply, we're going to start with where our planting foot would be on the approach, and then from here stick on the ball whichever way we're going to do our crossover. We're going to go crossover and into the goal. So I might just take myself a little bit back here so I'm in a better angle. So we're here, and then we go cross, through, and release. And I've just gone out a shot there. Hopefully you saw enough of that. So we're here. The premise is we're starting on the ball. So like we've just come, we've just approached, standing still. And this is all about trying to generate lots of speed and power through the ball there. I'm scoring great goals here, people. You just unfortunately can't see them on camera. What I'll do in a moment, we'll do a few, we'll flick some, and we'll show you there. What I want to talk about now, though, we've got the drill, the crossover, the Asprey drill. different ways we can cross over. This is a bit of personal preference. I have a favourite, and something, if I'm working with brand new drag flickers, I will advocate that they try this footwork. The most traditional is the step behind. So we would go plant, we'd go cross over behind, and then get through with a plant there. So we have the behind, we have the kick step, which is probably famous from Urian Hertzberger, where we'd plant and then we'd kick our feet that way. Or we have the inside step version here. The inside step, not so common, but is becoming more and more common. It's the one that I suggested earlier that I would advise people to use. The idea being that it kind of lends itself to the idea of throwing a javelin, and that you'd run up and you'd get inside step here to then release and throw. Advantage also being that if we go inside step, we've already got our hips working towards goal, so we can get this release. Whereas when we go crossover behind, the temptation is that the hips start facing backwards, and we really find it difficult to then get back and around, apart from the big strong guys at the top end of the game, and who are working lots to have injury prevention. This is where I see sort of hips and knees and things like that not working really well, as if when we go step behind to step in here, and that twisting of knee, not ideal. So trying to coach that inside step would be an advantage there. Something to think about if you are one of those who want to go with a kick step, is to think about taking the ball with you on the journey. So instead of going here, jumping and then leaving this behind, my toes and my hips are going to start going that way. What I would think about is when we plant here, as you're kicking, bringing the ball with you. So we go kick, the ball is with, so it's in line with this back foot when we start our hands going forwards and through the ball. So just a bit of advice to those who want to have the kick step variation on their technique. Right, we'll move you down to a backwards view now, and we'll show you a couple of these variations. Hopefully we've got a nice angle here. Excellent, ready to rock and roll. So we are just lining up on the ball there, and for me then I'm working on maybe an inside step. So we're here trying to generate as much power through the ball. Something you'll pick up on here on this first flick, my body falling away. Usually a sign of too much weight going forwards through the crossover step rather than keeping weight back. So see if we can just have a thought on that a little bit more. So that one very different. I managed to almost go down the middle and end up facing backwards to where you're all watching from. And then we've got the other kind of footwork if we want to work on it. Same drill, same premise. Here, kick, step that we might work on. Having a nice nest of balls next by is really good. Or we can go in behind, step behind. So again, starting here, having a crossover behind and through. So yeah, the Asprey drill, really, really useful. Another variation we can have with the Asprey drill is, well, I was just about to walk and collect you, pick you up, but I'll show you another angle in a moment. Another version, if we're finding it difficult to generate this power from here, is to start with a sort of feet together, feet still idea. It's almost a progression from the first drill, but we're going to add the release part here with a step. It's probably a bit more of a progression from that drill rather than the Asprey drill. I've just remembered it. I did tell you at the start, didn't I, that I'd keep flipping from drills and ideas. This idea being that we're at a standing start, okay, and then we're going to go step through the ball. Hopefully you'll notice from this angle that I've got my hands trying to work around the ball rather than the ball trying to work up and down the stick. We get a little bit too whippy with our wrists then. So again, here past the ball, maybe we can go a bit further past. So we start moving up and back down the stick there. Just a quick moment, while I'm thinking about it, people will be like, oh, you're flicking low on all these, and how do you get the ball in the air? For me, flicking in the air and flicking well in the air comes with lots of speed and power. Those maybe juniors or those learning to flick in the air, they almost do like little loopy ones. It's like drag overheads or drag aerials. For me, in the air is a case of just changing angle of stick. If we change angle a lot, we have to loop it. And almost if we change the angle a little bit and we have lots of speed, the difference between being flat and going like that and up, we'll just shoot up, almost like you're trying to shoot a bullet. The bullet's not going to curve up and down, the bullet's going to go straight. So it's just changing the angle, but for us to go in the air, we need to have lots of speed. So this is something also I'd discuss if you're starting to coach some flickers. My opinion is try and flick as fast as possible first, down the middle of the goal. I'm not a huge believer of trying to go accurate first and then add speed. It's so much harder. Those who have cricket backgrounds, if you're going to try and coach speed and pace and fast bowlers, you need to bowl fast first and then get accurate after. It's so much harder to have accuracy and then get fast. So that would be my consideration with a lot of this flicking work. Hence why I also start a little bit closer to the goal. So remember this idea of trying to aim for the corners, and I quite like aiming for these ties that are behind us because, as we know from the top flickers in the game, Hendricks's, your Gareth Furlongs as well, so many flicks at the goalkeeper with speed and a little bit of deception. So much harder than them being able to extend to the corners to make their saves. So that's something to consider when coaching your drag flickers. Final drill then, final practice is just bringing it all together. Coming from the top of the circle, have your approach, have your run up. We'll probably discuss anything around approach and run ups, different ways. I think having something that is comfortable for you is ideal. I know I'll mention Dave Asprey again. He's an interesting one because he'll start really close to the ball here and almost view it as a one action. So starting close here, ball is trapped, and then pick up, go, and try and go through the goal. You have others that have a very long run up into it. My advice against a really long run up is that we end up taking too much speed into the approach and into the ball. Something I use for my drag flickers I work with is this idea of being sort of calm, explode. Or maybe using sort of a music analogy as being sort of quiet, loud in that final release phase. Whereas if we come running in loud, it's really hard to go loud from approach, crossover, and then the release isn't any faster, it's not any more explosive. So for me, I'd prefer to be calm, explode through that final part of the flick, rather than trying to go loud and try and get louder again, is really difficult. So I think that's it from me to talk about drag flicking. Thank you for joining me from this journey. We'll see if I clip out any of these falling cameras. And I hope you've taken something away from this skill video. As I said, the intent of these vlog style ones is just to get some content out there. So if you do want these to be clipped up into shorter form, or you want some snazzy editing and some music over the top, and you don't want to listen to me waffle and excuse myself from picking up the camera because it's fallen over, smash a like, share it widely, please. Not only for us being able to grow mad in some of this content, but hockey is a sport. We need to get some content out there, even if it's right or wrong. We need to post it, share it, have some conversation. So with that, post some comments down below, tag some people in it, and that's enough from me waffling. I don't know how to finish the video. So big thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one. Ciao, hoil.